it's not easy just to say I want to have a state meeting at a certain town. And it's not easy at all to say, oh, I want to have a national meeting at a certain other town. You want to lay the paperwork and the stuff it takes just to qualify to have a meeting in a state, in a city. And our next speaker went through all the trouble of doing that, which will be in Vicksburg next year, and he's going to tell us about. But it was no easy chore. He got accommodation from the state for going the extra mile and scheduling that. You've never been to Vicksburg, this would be an ideal time. If you've never been to a national meeting, this would be an ideal time. And we had a registration desk up at Murfreesboro, and I signed up for 2 hours for pre-registration. And I asked him, I said, well, to get the Mississippi flair, let me wear my overalls and a straw hat. And he said, well, I could go with a straw hat but no overalls. So I wore my straw hat and put it in the back and went there for the registration for the national meeting. But this fellow took over 2 hours. It was a little road work, over 2 hours to get here tonight. So I wish we'd give a good welcome title, Tippah title, welcome to our state division commander, Alan Palmer.
Oh, I wish I was. Well, it was wonderful to be here tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
I've been coming to Ripley since I was a little kid. And, my grandfather's best friend was Baron Harpo from Iuka, Mississippi. I don't know if any of y'all know any Harpos still around Iuka, Mississippi. They were raised up together as children, and Baron was a judge in Drew, Mississippi for many, many, many years. And he was a tough one because I had to go before him one time. I was about 16 years old for driving too fast one night. Many of us used to do. But anyway, I used to come up here with Baron to the, what do you call it? The
First Monday?
Yeah, First Monday, yeah. That was an amazing place, I'll tell you. I walked up there and all the goats and the dogs and the kittens and books and Lord knows what else. But I really enjoyed it. And hadn't been to Ripley for a few years until last year. I came up here to a MOSB meeting. It's my first time back. And a real pleasant drive today till I got on Highway 15 and all the road construction. It cost me about a half an hour of time there. But anyway, good to be here. I've heard so many great things about this camp. I know a lot of you members from this camp. Y'all got one heck of a growing camp here. Y'all be really proud. I know you are. And this year, when it came to camp of the year, we sat down and we split hairs and we figured it one way and the other. And we just couldn't come up with one camp. And that's why we had 2 camps of the year this year, y'all in Corinth. But you should be really proud because that's northeast Mississippi. I mean, the whole enchilada. And that shows you the activity that's going up in this corner of Mississippi. And you're shining star for the entire state. And I applaud you. You're doing a heck of a job. Mark was talking about this convention. Back in, I guess about January of 2010, no, excuse me, 2009, it was mentioned to me about, National had mentioned possibly would like to see a convention held in Mississippi again. There hadn't been one in Mississippi since '82. And so as the sesquicentennial chairman for the division, for the duration of the sesquicentennial years, it was brought to my attention. In February of 2009, I made a trip to Vicksburg and started talking to local officials and seeing what was available. So I've been working on this now this year, or by February of 13, I've been working on it for 4 years now. And it has been a lot of paperwork. I've probably put close to 18,000 miles or more in travel just for this convention next year on my cars. I've lost count of the trips. But I'm going to tell you something, it's all worth it. Now that it's getting down, I know we have almost, well, actually, we don't have quite a year left now before the next convention. And if you've ever hosted any kind of an event like that, you know a year goes by and you blink of an eye. And we're getting down to the nitty gritty now and doing a lot of meetings once a month already in Vicksburg. I'm about 125 miles north of Vicksburg, so it's I spend a lot of my time down there. In fact, this next month I'll be going twice in September. But this is something, folks, and I know Vicksburg is a little dry for y'all, but this is in your backyard. This is in your home state. And I'd like to tell you now that Texas plans on invading Mississippi in 2013. At National, I ran into the Texas Division Commander at the front door of the hotel where it was being hosted. He had about 11 guys with him. And when I introduced myself to him, he said, you know where Cedar Grove is? Well, Cedar Grove is, how many of you have been to Vicksburg? You would raise your hand. How many of you have been to Cedar Grove? Cedar Grove is one of the largest homes in Vicksburg. And it's not just one home, it's a home. Next to it's the old, what they call the carriage house. It's a 2-story house that the owner actually lived in for something like 12 or 13 years while he was building the mansion. Then he built all these cottages across the road, and then they actually built some later on as well. The Texans have already booked 40 rooms there. They pretty much got it booked up. And I bet, that's the one camp in Texas, by the way, just one camp. And what do you call them, the tourist, what do you call the tourist head in that place?
Head of tourism.
Anyway, the guy who heads the
Chamber of
tourism in
Commerce.
Vicksburg, I can't think of his
Chamber of
title. Bill Surratt, he told me that they have about 1 million visitors a year in Vicksburg, and about half of them are from Texas. And so I think it would be a shame if Texas outshined Mississippi at a national reunion in Mississippi. So as I go around all over the state and talk to different camps, I'm begging, please, if you've never been to a national event, make it Vicksburg. It's going to be great. It's in your own backyard. Next year is the 150th anniversary of the siege of Vicksburg, so it's a very important year during our sesquicentennial celebrations. And you've got a year to plan it, take a week's vacation, come down and spend a little extra time in Vicksburg, and just enjoy it. We've got a lot of events planned. Quickly, I brought about, I think about 25 registration forms, and you can go online, and the website's on the bottom, and print them off. We have, I thought I had brought a picture of our reunion medal, but I guess I forgot it. The reunion medal is going to be the courthouse museum in Vicksburg. It's going to have 2 cannons on the bottom here. The theme of it is Vicksburg, the Gibraltar of the Confederacy. And then it's got the information, the 2013 National Reunion, John C. Pemberton Camp, so on and so forth. The flag down here is going to be the Van Dorn flag. It's going to have a facsimile drawing of Jefferson Davis' face in the flag, and then our national sesquicentennial medal will be hanging over that. It's going to be a very beautiful medal. Our tentative schedule, of course, it starts on Wednesday, the pre-GEC meeting, vendor setup. We'll have a reception at the Hampton Inn, and of course registration. Thursday we have opening ceremonies, the Forest Cavalry breakfast, of course our first business session, Heritage Luncheon is on Thursday, and the Vicksburg National Military Park Tour. And we're doing 2 tours that day, one at 9:30 a.m. to 12:30. Most of the men, of course, are in the business session, but we have a lot of ladies who attend. And we have special female tour guides that will be going on the early morning tour to the Vicksburg National Military Park. And so it will make it very interesting for the ladies who want to do the early morning tour. And it'll probably be a lot less rushed in the morning than it will be in the afternoon. On Friday, of course, we have the chaplain's breakfast, the second business session. And that morning, we're having a ladies tour. We'll begin at the Hampton Inn. This is limited to 112 ladies. We'll have 2 buses. One bus will go to the Martha Bick House, and you will have a tea there. After that, you will go to the Courthouse Museum, and they have a special program set up for the ladies. At the Courthouse Museum, for those who have not been there, it's not only history of the war between the states, it has a lot of local history, and it has a lot of ladies' china, a lot of ladies' artifacts, dresses of the period, and so on and so forth. Very interesting. And they're going to do a little special program for the ladies up in the old courthouse room upstairs. After the business session on Friday, we'll have the awards luncheon. For any of the ladies whose husbands will be there, they want to go to the awards luncheons with their husband, the buses will drop you back off at the convention center. That afternoon, of course, the memorial service, the National Memorial Service, will be held at, I can't remember for sure if it's the First Episcopal, it's the oldest, one of the oldest churches in Vicksburg. It was the church in Vicksburg that never closed its doors throughout the siege. It was targeted by federal gunboats, and it kept its doors open for parishioners there in Vicksburg. On Friday evening at 6 p.m., we will have the Mississippi Monument Shiloh Fish Fry. All proceeds from this fish fry is going to go to the Shiloh Monument. Right now, we don't know for sure if it's going to be held at the convention center or another location, but that's going to be right before the oratory contest. If you've never been to a national event and never been to an oratory contest, let me tell you, you're in for a treat. How many was there this year and saw Chuck McMichael's performance? You missed it. I told him he ought to take that show on the road. That was good. But anyway, the oratory contest is a fun time. They give you a subject, and you get up, and it's kind of all tongue-in-cheek. It's not serious. It's meant to have fun. And it's a great fellowship time and great time to laugh and just let your hair down. On Saturday, of course, you have the Army meetings in the morning, AOT, the ATM, the A&B, the last business session. We don't have anything planned for Saturday because people want to go out and do their own thing in Vicksburg. There's so much to see and do. We were sitting down trying to come up with tours for the event. You know, what do you do in Vicksburg? There's everything to see. We could do an old home tour, but there's people who just want to view the battlefield. Because the battlefield is not just the national park. The whole town was the battlefield. And you have Confederate Drive, which has monument after monument after monument that's in neighborhoods. So there's plenty to see there. And so we just want to give people time to go out and just view Vicksburg and see what interests them the most. On Thursday night, I forgot to mention, you'll see it on the schedule, Gold in the Hills. Gold in the Hills is a melodrama play at the Vicksburg Theater that is in the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest running melodrama in the entire world. It's been going on now for 44 or 45 years, I forget exactly. And the same man who plays the villain has been playing the villain for 45 years, and he is the commander of the John C. Pemberton Camp and a member of the 2013 National Reunion Committee. And so they're putting on a special performance just for us on that Thursday night. It's limited to 250 seats, because that's all the auditorium will hold. Of course, then on Saturday night, we have the grand banquet and the debutante presentation. If you have any young ladies between the ages of 16 and 23, is that right, Lee?
Yes.
16 and 23, the Old South tradition, and your young ladies coming out. It's a great time for that to happen here at the convention in Vicksburg. We have, right now, I know of 6 young ladies in Mississippi that's going to be debutantes next year. Y'all have any young ladies up here? You know, think about sponsoring a young lady. Now, young lady's fee is only, for the first 25 that sign up, is only $30. And that covers everything for her. And she gets, there's been 100 brooches made, limited edition. They will not make any more. Each young lady that participates gets a brooch. It's for the sesquicentennial. She gets a gift bag. She gets a lot of little goodies. And it's just a fun time, and a time to her to spend with her father, or grandfather, or brother if she doesn't have a father, grandfather. But just think about that, and maybe sponsor a young lady if y'all have a young lady in y'all's camp that'd be interested in doing that. And there's information on the website. I've got a few debutante registration forms over here. And, you know, it's a special moment for them. And in fact, that's what Saturday night is all about. It is the debutante's ball. We have the commanders, what do you call the commanders?
Reception?
Commander's reception is first, but after that, it is the debutante's ball. It's an old South tradition that we try to keep alive, so y'all think about it. If you know somebody who would like to participate, please go to the website or get one of these forms and get them registered up. I believe we're going to have a lot from Texas, so we want to get our Mississippi girls in there first with a $30 fee before a lot of other people come in. Again, I can't stress enough, in Mississippi, we had probably 2 years ago, we probably had one of the largest Mississippi delegations go to a national reunion, and I think we had about 40. Most of the time, it's about 20, 25 or so. Of course, it's a long way, and it's a lot of expense, and a lot of people don't have enough money to get off. But this is here in Mississippi, and we're going to have a large contingent from the Army of the Trans-Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, and Mississippi ought to be the largest contingent there. This is your opportunity. It's not going to come around for a very long time. In fact, it may not come around again in some of our lifetimes. It's been, again, 34 years since the last one. So you've got plenty of time now. Make plans to be there. I promise you will not be disappointed. For those of you who have not been to Vicksburg before, it will be a treat for you and a time of remembrance, especially since it is a sesquicentennial. I thought I had brought 25 and 25, but I've got 25 cups. These were some giveaways we gave away at Murfreesboro for pre-registration. Vicksburg 2013 reunion, revolved to the Confederate. I also have 25 of these pins. I have the same thing on them. I put your camp commander Marty in charge of them. He's going to pass them out after the meeting. So I apologize, I don't have enough for everybody, but some of you will get one. And maybe you can give one to every family anyway. One thing I would like to touch on real quick, at our state convention meeting, how many of you were at the state convention meeting this year? All right. This year, one of the big things to come out of the state convention, we didn't have a lot of serious business this year, but one of the big things to come out of it was we have a large, well, I wouldn't say large, but we have quite a few members of the division who are not members of camps. And so they're kind of like falling through the cracks. And like National has the at-large camp, we call it headquarters camp, we're going to set up a headquarters camp in Mississippi. We've had a few members in our camp who have moved to different locations in Mississippi. They had several camps, and they wanted to check them out before they joined one, because, you know, not everybody fits at every camp. Sometimes it's a square peg in a round hole, and so I encourage everyone, don't drop out, don't quit. Look around for another camp. If you're not happy where you are, don't get mad and start spouting bad things. Go to another camp. Find somewhere that you feel comfortable. It's just like a church. So many times people just quit because they get upset or mad at somebody and just stop going altogether. And that's not what you're supposed to do. But just look around and find a place you're comfortable with. So we're going to start this at-large camp. The membership voted on this. next executive council meeting, we're going to take it up. And so we'll have a place for people. For instance, we had a camp, well, I guess a couple of years ago, they lost membership. They didn't have enough members to maintain their charter. So we had 6 guys just floating around, not belonging to anywhere. So this will be a place for them to belong until they either can build their camp back up and get their charter back, or they go out and find another camp to go to. So that's probably one of the big things. Our next state convention meeting, and I know it's only 2 weeks before national, and it's going to be at Pearl. It's going to be a very important meeting because next year's election, you're going to be electing your new division and your new brigade officers. There's also going to be a lot of amendments coming across the table. So send yourself a good delegation to the state convention next year in Pearl, because it's going to be a very important year for our division, the future of our division. So try to attend that as well. I know, like I said, it's just 2 weeks before national, but it's very important. You know, talking about this stuff is kind of cut and dry. It's just information, and it's not a lot of passion in it, other than I'm very passionate about putting this convention on. But somebody said something to me earlier tonight that reminded me of the reason that I do this, and the reason most of you do this. When I was a child, about 9 years old, I made my first visit to Chattanooga to Lookout Mountain. Saw my first reenactor there. It was I guess he worked for the park system. He was a Yankee. And my first battlefield, I guess when I was about 5 years old, was Shiloh that I went to. Bought my first book, and that was Bruce Canton's American Heritage, or Bruce Canton's Civil War for children. And that started a lifelong passion with me. My grandfather, as I said earlier, was born in 1892. His father was a child during the Civil War, but his father fought the Civil War, of course, Richard Mack Palmer. And my grandfather, he was a fire eater. And I remember being taught the Southernness from a very young child, but I didn't quite understand everything. I can remember as a child, especially as a teenager, I was diehard Southern, and I knew if I could step back in time, I'd have on the gray uniform, be marching across the field with my brothers. But at the same time, I believed that it was best that we lost the war. Why? Because I was a product of modern education. Just like a lot of you are and a lot of your kids are today. Even though I love the South, diehard Confederate, I thought, well, you know, it's probably best we lost the war. Well, through enough years of study on my own, I came to change my mind about that. And unfortunately, not enough people these days study on their own and read enough. They just take what they hear as gospel, especially because it's from an adult, especially our children. Anyway, to get back to my Chattanooga story. I visited Chattanooga, I guess, maybe 2 or 3 times in my early childhood. And about sometime in the late 1980s, I guess, I went up there, my wife, my sister, and my oldest daughter, she was kind of young then. And we parked at the Craven's house, I believe it's called, up on the side of Lookout Mountain there. And if you've ever been to Lookout Mountain, you know the top is capped with a 60-foot limestone cliff. And that's the vantage point, that's the park today. Craven's house sits right down off on the east side, I guess it is, about maybe a few hundred feet down the mountain. I got out of my car that day and started walking around. I started walking around the north face of the mountain. I was going to do a little hiking around. And the closer I got down the trail to the north face, the more disturbed I felt. We were on vacation. We were just having a good time. I was just having fun. Got down the trail maybe a couple of 100 yards from the clearing where all the monuments are there. And I started kind of where the mountain goes around a little bit like this. And all of a sudden, I just started crying. And I had the most intense feeling of despair that I've ever felt in my life. It so overwhelmed me, I turned around and I ran back to my car. And my wife, my sister-in-law, like, what is wrong with you? And I said, I don't know. I've got to go. I've got to leave. And we left. It disturbed me for a long time, but eventually I just forgot about it. You know, it was just some strange happening that I couldn't explain. I just completely forgot about it. In 1993, I started reenacting. To be honest with you, I'd never heard the words SCV. Never heard of it. I started reenacting, and I got in this group that turned out to be not the kind of group I wanted to be with. So I got out of this group and started just kind of doing independent for a while, and we started this event in Greenwood, Mississippi at the old Flowood Plantation, Flowood River Plantation State Park. And I met this gentleman one day, and he was an artillery unit. And we got to talking back and forth, and he said, hey, tonight we're having a camp meeting in Indianola, and I'd like to invite you to come. And I said, this is in 1997. And I said, camp meeting, what kind of camp meeting? He said, well, SCV. I said, what's SCV? He said, Southern Confederate Veterans. And I said, what is that? So he started telling me, I said, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want any part of no racist organization or anything like that. And so he spent a few minutes to correct me. Now, I'm a diehard Southerner, folks. I eat and breathe Southernness. I love the Confederacy since I was a little child. That was my perception of the SCV, even though I'd never actually heard of it. So that's a problem we have too, even today, is the perception that people think about us. It's sort of like a child. You say something to a child, you think of the mind of an adult, and you think they understand, and they take it completely differently than what you intended. And it's sort of the same way with us. We have to watch everything we say out in public, and we have to realize that the public does not know who we are. There are many, many people out there who love their Southern heritage, who do not know who we are even yet today. Thank God that we have newspapers here in North Mississippi that are friendly and put out our message and our stories and tell folks, and that helps tremendously. And we don't have that all over the state, I can assure you. Anyway, I went to the camp meeting, I went to the next camp meeting, and within 2 months I joined the SCV. And in fact, it was in August of that year. And but prior to joining, and I know I'm rambling a little bit, but all my story will actually tie together in just a second. When I was doing my family research for the SCV, all I had was vague notions of who they were, and so when I started joining the SCV, I started doing deep research. And lo and behold, I found my great-great-grandfather. He was in the Mississippi Regiment, 30th Mississippi Company K. And lo and behold, Company K, 30th Mississippi, was on Lookout Mountain on November 24th, 1863. Company K of the 30th Mississippi was posted on the north face of Lookout Mountain. They were posted from just at the base of the cliff below the summit, all the way down to the Tennessee River as advanced pickets. Company K was the first Confederates that Hooker's men ran over out of the fog on the morning of November 24th, 1863. Now, I can't tell you how that made me feel when I read that. And I didn't know this until the day that I got 30-something pages from the archives in the mail at my house. I cannot tell you how the hair stood up on the back of my neck. And that was the first time I had thought in many years of what had happened 10 years before on Lookout Mountain. I can't tell you that my ancestor was there that day and touched me or spoke to me. But I can tell you that I believe there's a connection, that whatever was is still here with us. It's one thing that I don't know if it's the spirit the feelings, the intensity, or whatever. But somehow, and you know, we all have some abilities, and strange things happen to us in our lives. That's one of the most strangest that ever happened to me. But that sealed it for me right then. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. One day, sitting in a McDonald's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, I'm sitting there, and me and a friend of mine are talking, and we went up there to look around, and there's two guys sitting over, a couple tables over, and they get up and walk over, and they asked us, said, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "We're from Mississippi." And so we could hear you talking. We knew you weren't from up here. And we're from Tennessee. I said, "Where y'all from Tennessee?" "We're from Knoxville." And so I said, "Well, hey, y'all sit down and join us." And we're sitting there, and they were doing the same thing we were. We sat down and started talking. After about 5 or 10 minutes, you know how it goes, they were SCV members as well. And he said, "Oh, you're from Mississippi?" He said, "Well," I said, "Well, my ancestor was from Mississippi." I said, "Really?" I said, "Where?" He said, "Carrollton." I said, "Carrollton?" I said, "Well, that's where my grandfather's from." He said, "Well, my grandfather was a private company K, 30th Mississippi." I said, "Well, my grandfather was a captain in company K, 30th Mississippi." So there's strange things that happen to you in your life you can't explain. How two boys from Mississippi met two boys from Tennessee in a McDonald's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, whose ancestors happen to be in the same unit, is just, you know, the calculations get way up there. But anyway, that's what keeps me going, moments like that. And it's what makes me know I'm doing the right thing. And every day it gets a little harder sometimes, but that's when you have to think back about those special moments. What other part of your life is something like that going to happen? It's not. Earlier, Mark was talking about doctors and lawyers and gas station attendants in the SCV and in reenacting. That's one of the things I've always loved about the SCV and reenacting as well, is nobody asks you when you come through the door, "What do you do?" They ask you who your ancestor was. Who's your ancestor? What did you fight in? "Oh, my ancestor was over here." We don't care. We take you as a gentleman. We take you as a Southerner, a fellow patriot. Doesn't matter if you're down here and according to the eyes of society or up here. We're all equal in this room. And that's what's great about this organization. What other organization are you going to ever join that you can have this kind of variety of people from all walks of life, and yet we're all brothers in here, every one of us. Because you're here tonight, it proves that you love your heritage, you love your ancestry, and it's something to be proud of. And what other organization are you going to join that you can feel that way? Very, 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 very few. And I'm proud to be a Southerner. I'm proud to be up here tonight. I'm proud to carry on the struggle, get the message out. And we've got to, folks. I do believe, and this some of you may think this is a stretch, I believe that Southerners and our belief system is the only hope this country's got. I mean, seriously. And people can say what they want to, but our ancestors in the Confederacy, they came from, it was truly a Christian nation. These people, even Southerners in my family that didn't ever go to church, boy, they respect God. Yeah, I can promise you that. There's a song, an old country song I remember, something about, I think it was Don Williams. Daddy would come in and read the Bible to me with a whiskey on his breath. I'm not saying that's right. Jordan, I know a lot of Southerners like that. I see a couple of you laughing out there. You know what I'm talking about. But you know what? Southerners are a unique breed of people in this country. And we're a vanishing breed. And we have to keep that alive. And the SCV, in my opinion, is the only way to do it. And again, I applaud you. I love camps like this. You're out there. You're letting the public see you. You're getting the message out. That's the important thing. And you've got great newspapers here to support you. And that's the most important thing. You know, I remember a story a long time ago about a little Sunday school teacher. He was a very shy man. And he said he wasn't a great witness for the Lord. But he used to go by this little shoe store every day, and he saw this young man, and he wanted to witness to him, but he was just scared. You know how some people are, just scared to go up and talk to somebody about the Lord. And finally, he got his courage up one day. He went by and he witnessed to this young man, and this young man accepted the Lord as his Savior. You know who that young man was? Has any of you ever heard of D.L. Moody? The great Reverend D.L. Moody? Historic, one of the greatest evangelists of all history. D.L. Moody is said to have probably led 3 million people to the Lord. And it all started because of one little scared Sunday school teacher. It's the same thing with our heritage and our honor. You don't know who the next person is that you tell the truth to, that you spark an interest. And you don't know what great things that person will do in the future in defense of our honor and our heritage. So never lose the opportunity to tell someone about the truth of our heritage. They may pay great dividends for our future generations, our children, and our grandchildren. I've got a 4-year-old granddaughter right now that scares me to death to think about what she's going to grow up into. I can see, I'm 50 years old. I have seen some tremendous changes in this world, in this country, and in the South. I can remember a few years ago in Fredericksburg, Maryland, sitting there at 2 a.m. in the morning at Denny's, and it was a freak show, excuse my expression. I thought I must have been on Pluto or something. And I said, boy, you wouldn't see this down in Mississippi, I guarantee you that. We wouldn't allow somebody to walk down the street looking like that. Well, guess what? About 18 years later, I see them worse, walking down the streets of Drew, walking down the streets of Cleveland, all the time. It seems like every day we're losing until you come to a meeting like this and you see your fellow SCV brothers and you realize there's still people out there. It's not just about our ancestors, folks, it's about us and our survival. Well, I guess that's about it. I really enjoyed being here. Hope I didn't bore you to death. And just please consider coming to Vicksburg next year, folks. It's going to be a great event. We need your help. Any of you who knows you're going to come, please contact me. Contact the committee. All of our information is on the website, which is on the bottom of these forms. Volunteer to help us. As you can imagine, we've got a national event. We need a lot of soldiers on the ground. There's just so much a few of us can do. And we need people there to help us with registration, because registration has to stay open from at least 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for 3 days. And we need ladies to help us. We need men to help us, just to oversee different projects. So if you want to volunteer to help, please come by or get in touch with us. We'll sign you up. This is for all of Mississippi. The Mississippi Division is co-sponsoring this, and this is going to be kind of the culmination for Mississippi. We took some lumps a few years ago, and it's time to shine again. So y'all come and support it, and help us out if you can, and God bless you.